Hmm.
All right, good evening, everybody. Tonight we're going to have the pleasure of Kevin Bassett showing us how to do various boxes, little boxes. I guess we're going to start off with a little dinky one. But let me introduce Kevin Bassett. Take it away.
Remind me of my coach in New Orleans. He used to come in and read roll, and he said Bassetti, and I'd say that's Bassett, and every week he did the same thing, and he said right. So it was kind of fun. So it's Bassett, but you're forgiven. So tonight, what I thought we'd try and do is this little project. We there? Okay. This little acorn project is hollow, and so it can hold little bitty things, and it can also be spun like a top. And I had a chance to make a whole mess of these. I had a friend that died last June 20th of ALS, and at his memorial service, they cast acorns into the water. This is in Florida, Bonnie. And to signify the ripples that each of our lives have on other people. So so when they wanted me to make he was a good tree guy, like me, and they wanted a trophy for him for the Outstanding Volunteer Award, and his wife ended up made about 50 of these. And so his friends that were amongst the thing, they each got a little acorn with some of his cremains in it, so everybody can carry a little bit of Bruce with them. And one of my friends took one and set it on the way up in the top of a great big redwood looking over the Pacific Ocean in California. So Bruce has a nice ringside seat for that every sunset. So pretty amazing. So it's a neat little box, and it has a lot of uses, or you can just give it to the kids and step on it, whatever. So do we want to send that around? Roger, you're in the zero thing, so if I throw this thing off, it's one of you two or maybe Bonnie. The rest of y'all are probably safe. And of course, AAW. Steve still here? Oh, good. Can I take it off? Is AAW going to see this? Is this going to be on the net? Okay, so the very first thing, you just take a block of wood that's about 3 inches or so. You can maybe squeeze another inch or two out of it. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to drill an 11/16 hole about, I don't know, about that deep. Put it back down. It's better on the sound? Yeah, it does. Yeah, I turned. See? If you blink, you're going to miss this one because I ain't messing around. This one goes quick. Oh, well, yeah, you can put the slideshow up there. So this will have a little portion of the trophy I made for Bruce Smith. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, shoot it. Next slide. Go backwards. It's the little arrow going that way. You finally found somebody that's worse at computers than I am. Hey. Yeah, that's a good idea. Haven't tried that yet. So you make the tenon on this part, on the seed part, and you make the acorn the mortise. So it's just the opposite. Yeah, I can see doing that. Never tried it before. Well, you know what? I'm going to keep going because, Ed's got to leave. Okay, so that's looking down on some of the acorns into the little bowl that's part of the trophy. Yeah, go ahead and show the other one. The other box we're going to try and do is a little apple box, a ring box. Had a young man from Lubbock contact me. He wanted a ring box because he was going to propose to his future fiancée, and she studies ancient Greek stuff. And he wanted a golden apple. So that's Bodark with yellow dye, and I'm hoping it holds up. The Bodark won't, but the yellow dye maybe. I'm hoping. The inscription there in Greek says the fairest. The fairest. I'm done with all the slides. I'll tell you what. Just to be safe, and I hear that chatter coming, we'll go ahead and put it between centers. Okay, so I didn't get real thin here because you got some pressure from the seed cap part, and if you make that too darn thin, it'll just split. So don't make it too thin. 11/16. And that's because you can make it any size hole you want, depending on what size acorns you want. But that's a realistic size to me for my favorite tree. Nice thing about doing stuff like this, organic forms, you can't do it wrong. If it was a sphere, you know, or a certain form that had to be exactly right, you'd mess it up. But being an organic type thing, hey, every acorn's a little bit different. So I'm just going to use a little spindle gouge to hollow this. The important thing here is not to get too carried away and go too deep. All right, so now that's done. And I leave that little edge in there because, you know, I kind of want the top to fit down on that edge. You can cut it all the way back smooth if you want, John, but you don't have to. So I left this fat here to support the wood when I was hollowing it, and now we'll do the bottom. Hope I don't go through. So, see, now that's the nice thing about this project. You just start over again. And in the interest of time, you know what? Look at there. I got one. It's too thin, so it's going to crack when I put it on there. But close enough. So, don't hollow too far. I always like messing stuff up a little bit in a demo. It makes it fun, doesn't it? And we're not going backwards. We're going to forge ahead, because I've got this one. I come prepared. I'm cheating. So this tenon that fits this, the cheat work on that I did last night. And all that is an 11/16 wrench that's got a little grinding on it. You want to put it right there? Like that? Like that? Like that? Okay, so you grind off the sides on the side of the wheel, because if you look at this one, you see how it's all rounded over? Well, that ain't going to cut anything. But up here on the top, you grind the sides to make them flat, and then I just grind this, kind of this motion up the wheel, to put an edge on that. And what I'm after is to try and get two sharp corners. So when I turn this, I can just kind of, you know, you got to get fairly close on your diameter, and then you can run this down on there and it'll make the diameter exactly what you need. So that's that trick. Usually these you may have to make one teeny little pass to get it just right. You know, you're just taking off a teeny fraction. And if you go too far, take another little cut down to close to that one. You might need to shave off a little bit off of there, and you're off and running again. So you can still make up for your mistakes, which is good for me because I make lots of mistakes. If I didn't make mistakes, I wouldn't be having no fun. So that gives you an idea of how big you want to make it if you just put it on there. So you don't like doing your basic cuts of beads and coves. The acorn is really just beads and coves. Bead, cove, bead, cove. That's all it is. So it's a good little thing for teeny little bits of hollowing and a little bit of beads and coves. So this is a cove to here to make the little stalk. And the smaller the diameter you make this, the better it's going to spin. So there's the acorn box. Quick and dirty. Ed Hoosling, you can leave now. Wished I hadn't cut through on the bottom part, but heck, you know, that happens. I told you I wasn't at the top of my game today, right? So now we're going to move on and try and do the apple box. And need a nice blank. You know, about apple size or so, a little bit longer, maybe a little bit bigger in diameter. Come back for you later. You can sand them and put a little oil on them if you want. You know, it's up to you. When you're doing the acorn top, though, if you want to do some chatter work, chatter should come out to some kind of a Fibonacci number. Hey, John. One type or another, and so that would coincide with the way acorns have little scales on them. So you can do that, or I take my burner and just start working around. I promise it isn't a Fibonacci number doing it my way, but looks a little different. Okay, so when I start the apple, this is the lid part. Minus the stalk. So I want to cut the indent to begin with. And then I'm going to use the drill to cut me a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch deep hole for the, except the tenon of the stalk part. So I'm going to do that real quick. Watch out, Roger. You know I'm dangerous. Okay, something about like that, I reckon. And then get rid of that. They're not there. They're over here. 1/4 inch. And go about 1/4 inch deep, or thereabouts. Okay, so now if I want to dress this up a little bit more, I can. Glad it didn't hit my toe. So the apple's in here and the lid's up here. So we want to kind of divide off those two distinct parts of the apple. So there's some kind of a lid. I'm going to use about that much of that. And then the apple's going to be something like that. It's a little narrower down here, isn't it? Like I said, apple's an organic form, so go to the grocery store. They all come in all different kinds. So at this point, I'm going to part that off, and I'm going to part it at an angle so that I don't cut through down here in this bottom. Larry, you look mystified. You've probably seen a box done like this, haven't you? No? Okay. So there's my lid. We'll set him aside and go back to him later. So now I can start, well, you can kind of go two ways here. You can kind of start refining your form of your apple, or we got to make the mortise for this to fit in. Now I'm going to make the mortise much smaller than this. For a ring box, I figure about 1.5 inches. So 1.5 inches. That's that one. So about what we want for the thickness of the lid. About that much. I don't do exact measurements. This is Bonnie. You don't, do you? About that much. Yeah, it's a pinch. It's like cooking. You know, if you have to measure out how much a cup is, you're probably not a great cook. I don't know, David. Well, what's the difference between a pinch and a dash? Well, I understand that the guys in the gold country in California that were the bartenders that were taking pinches of gold for the drinks, they were great big guys with big fat fingers. All right, so we want to go, so the bottom of the apple comes up in like that. Yeah, a little bit. It's a little concaved in here. On a real apple, that actually goes in a lot deeper. You can do that too if you want. You want to take the risk. So on the inside, you want to leave a little volcano in there. So when you come up in here, you don't cut through. So leave it a little fat in the middle of the bottom. On the sides, you thin to whatever makes you happy. 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, blow it up. You figure it out. So I want to go ahead and get rid of a lot of the wood in a hurry. Woo! That's probably enough. I should go a little bit, but you won't like that squealing. All right, since I did that first, let's just kind of refine our apple shape. And then downhill for the lid. Anybody got any questions so far? Don't need this. Hey? It's maple. It's old maple. Old spalted maple. Now's probably a good time to think about sanding and finishing and all that stuff, but you guys are getting this fresh off the tool. Because I hate sanding. Who likes to sand? Sue McDonough likes to sand. She's the onlyest one. So you can come to my shop anytime and sand till you're blue in the face. I have so many things that need to be sanded. I probably have 30 bowls that you can sand right now. Okay, well, come and get them. In fact, why don't you come sand this? I'll go take a break. All right, so does that more or less look like an apple? More or less. Wait. That ain't a doorknob. A doorknob's only about that thick. I make doorknobs. I've made doorknobs. People don't like my apple shape. Okay, we'll make your own then, okay? That's how that works. All right. So, I kind of, when I came down there, I made that a little shallow. Oh, I'm going to send Craig an extermination bill. Yeah, well, if you want him, he's yours, okay? All right, that's good enough. I love the smell of burning wood in the evening. Alright, so we're going to try and do a quick and dirty job of hollowing. Who likes to hollow? Anybody? No? Not too many people hot on hollowing. Me neither. Hollowing's kind of boring, actually. But it all depends on the weapon. So, how's that? Does that work for you? So, that's only going to go in till I'm scraping the top of the apple box, but I think we can get it thin enough up here. I think there's just enough there to get there. And I want to leave the little edge that I put there, and you got to be careful not to make that too thin or it splinters off. So you can have all kinds of fun with these. Maybe I should drill it out a little deeper. Or make a, what's the apple that's real short and squat? Macintosh? Not a Granny Smith? Not a Yellow Delicious? Crab apple. Now, them are little bitty ones. You can make crab apples too. I got one of them at home. Better go for the smaller one. You just about had fun, didn't you? Oops! Much better. Well, my ruler. It's about that much. Yeah, it's real scientific. I didn't learn this at Colorado State, you know. They didn't teach me this in Fort Collins. I learned this right here. And there's, you know, some machinists sitting back here that are just going crazy. Richard? Fred? It's not a space shuttle part, okay? You have to excuse me, I got a little bit of a cold and I can't hear. Alright. You getting that, Hugo? Oops. Better pay attention to what I'm doing before I run the tool off the end of the rest there. I don't have to rush. I still got 2 more parts to do. If I go through, I'm going to be pissed, so I better stop. Think so? Are you hearing it? We got the idea of hauling. Oh, heck, you know, that's that thick. All right, good enough. So, can the camera see in there and see my little volcano in the bottom? Not with your finger in the way. Need the light right there. Okay, so now, let's say we did, you know, a nice job of hollowing it, and we sand it and make it all pretty. Now it's time to flip it around and do the bottom. I hope that's all on that handout. I don't know. That was late one night just this week, and I don't. So there's a couple ways to do this. I can try and do it with the inside chuck and just grab it up here. With it as fat as that is, that'd probably work. But that doesn't work nearly as good as making a little jam chuck. And I do have the bottom center down here. That looks like something like that with an indent down in there that fits on that hole. So we'll just see if it fits. Actually, it's not hitting that out in the bottom. It's a little too shallow. All right, so we'll put the little chuck in here. Who uses stuff like this besides me? Or is it all vacuum chucks? Okay, so you know how to do this. No big deal. Hey, I may cheat completely. We're done. That's the nice thing about using drills, is they're consistent. If you mess one up, you just go grab another piece from another one that you blew up the other way. So, but we'll keep going. Yeah, I'd like to. Then I'm supporting it two ways. I got it on this part up here on the lid and against the bottom. If I got that, then I got something real solid. It takes some doing sometimes, you know. You know, that's probably good enough. That'll true up. Oh yeah, I dropped it, didn't I? I wonder why I lose all kinds of tools in my shop. I drop it on the floor, forget all about it, cover it with sawdust, throw it in a trash can. Yeah! Them guys that, you know, live around my shop, those homeless guys that do they love me. They're scrappers. Yeah, it's pretty true. And that's what you're after. I want to get enough pressure on there. So if I'm real thin, I put a lot of pressure on it. So, you know, you can be generous with your wood. I'm going to waste this. Usually, you know, I'd probably need a smaller blank. Here's the other thing. You know, I can still go back here and true this up if I want. You still got wood. You got thickness. You can still go back and take another bite of the apple. I got your doorknob there, Mr. Hugo. Still look like a doorknob to you, Hugo? It's way too big for a doorknob. Nice thing about this is if I mess up, I still got me a top from the bottom. So, if I happen to mess up the top. But I never do that. So if you start getting scared here, you know, if you look at the apple, there's all those little sepals. Yeah, sepals from the flower down there on the bottom. So it actually kind of does back up. So you don't have to keep diving in. You can stop somewhere just so long as you're below this edge. Here's the apple. Now, moving right along, we still have to make the top. I've eaten worms before, but not on this particular project. Yeah, usually they end up gushing on my glasses. Alright, so there's two chucks that you need to make to do this the way I do it. There's this one. Of course, you can try and grip this on the inside and center it up. But if you're any kind of thin here, you won't be happy. Trust me, I know. So if there's a way to blow these things up, I've blown them up. Excuse me. And the other little one you need is, so I've got a 1/4-inch peg right there. That should fit very nicely in that little hole. Where you want it right there? Okay, so that peg goes in that hole. More or less. Like that. No center. So I've got a different little tailstock here I'll try. So that goes there. So if you want more security where you can actually deal with this thing, two-sided tape on this with the hole punched in it, and it'll stick right there. Then you can work it real easy. I like to keep things between centers as much as possible because it keeps you running true. I've done some slight modification of that, and I don't think it's straight, but heck, we'll just push it into the wood anyway. 20 minutes. Woo! Better hurry up. 20 minutes. Moving along pretty good, actually. On my practice runs last night, it took an hour and 8. But I goofed up a lot. I was even talking to myself. Okay. So that diameter has to fit that diameter, but not be so small that it goes all the way through. And the thickness needs to be equal to that thickness. So when I set it in there, it lays in there just about right, more or less. And we'll set this at 1.5 inches, not 1 3/8. Not like that. It's got a little wobble to it, but you know, really that's close enough. So that kind of gives me, you know, somewhere around where I'm going to be. And I can just take this stuff off. That's how you get the little burn mark. The other reason for using the tape is you can get rid of that. The way it is now, I'm just going to have to sand it off or grind it off or cut it off or whatever. It's going to have that little tip on the end. So if you put the two-sided stick tape in there, you can knock it off nice and smooth all the way across. So I'm getting pretty close, so I think I'll measure. Uh-oh. Looks spot on, doesn't it? We're going to fix to find out. Sometimes I get lucky. Sometimes I don't. There's the lid. It's not that great. I went a little too far. But you know what? It does fit in there. It's a loose fit. And it's got a little burn ring around it. You know, practice makes perfect. If I do a few hundred more, maybe I'll get it down. All right, moving right along. Now I have to make that part to go in there. This one? Oh, this one. Oops. Yeah, it looks good, but can you see it moving? Oh, okay. Here. Like I said, you always got the O one. Can always do that one. That one fits good too, see? If you do them enough, you get fairly consistent at what you're doing, and you can make them over and over and over. And when you screw up an apple, well, you got an extra lid. If you screw up a, you know, you got, whoops. If you break one like dropping it on the floor, don't step on it. You'll hurt my feelings. Okay, so final step is the little stalk. Oh yeah, I got it. Now I remember. Good shot, Henry. Henry needs to go play for the Rangers. Did you see him knock that thing out of the park? Just leave it. Just leave it. I can't believe Henry hit that so hard. Hey, Henry's a handful. In case anybody doesn't know, Roger Stick's name is Henry. And every once in a while, Roger forgets where he puts Henry. What is the rest of the story? You tell me. I forgot. Henry the Eighth. It's the 8th cane I had. Henry the 8th. I am. Oh heck! I lost. Everybody give Craig a big hand. I went back and stole his 1/4-inch wrench and ground it. So like before, I grind the sides. So on the wheel like this, the wheel like that, and then thanks to Randy Rice, showed me that a long time ago. Never really messed with it until this year, but he showed it to me a long time ago. It's one of those stupid little tricks for sizing things. So if you get it pretty close like that, ooh, wow. Does an old piece of ebony go out around that far in the night? I guess so. Well, obviously I'm going to have to true that up, because if I try and stick that on there, it ain't going to work too good. Anybody turn ebony much? I think I want to just part that off. Well, maybe not. I have a lot of trouble with ebony. It likes to split. A lot of times it has bore holes in it, little bitty teeny little shot holes. So it's not one of my favorites. You seeing that all right, Ken? Quarter-inch, more or less. I don't like this running unsupported like that. It just better. Should be pretty close. That sounds like splinters to me. cove there, cove there. That's probably too small. Got a little aggressive there, huh? It's alright, it's an apple. And it's the stick part of an apple, so I didn't too big. Now, sometimes when I do these, I go ahead and make this little bulb on top, and then I go over to my sander and I grind that off and just leave one side of that curve. So it goes like that. How much time I got? Lots of time? This is an apple, not a cherry. I bet Sue McDonough can do that. She's from Fort Collins. All the girls in Fort Collins could do that. Don't know why. All right. Now, if my... Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the little crack in it. That fits like horrible. That one looks bad. I'm going to make another one. We got time. Huh? Good enough? Put enough glue in there, it'll work. So there's the apple box. You guys, when you're doing a demo, you're just trying to show the techniques real quick, and so the work isn't necessarily as good as you'd like. I don't need a face mask. I need elbow pads. Yeah, don't lean on against the when it's running. You know what? I'm not bleeding though. I didn't cut 2 fingers off. I crushed those 2 though a long time ago, but that wasn't doing turning. Keep things in balance. Slow speed at first, then build up, and you should be fine. Dull tool's a dangerous tool. Any questions? What you got? Yeah, I was just doing a cove cut. Yeah, you just keep chasing the cove all the way down, until it comes to a little tip, and then it'll, I was going to reach and grab it, but then I cut through. Yeah, well, you know what? If you do enough of them, I bet you cut through too. Unless you're really good, like John. He won't cut through. Maybe. Anything else? On what? On the apple? That's what I was saying. You take it to a sander, and you see that line coming up like that? You visualize that, and you grind that part off. Real carefully on a sander, and you roll that piece out, and you leave this curve on this side, and then you've got that. Well, you can do it any way you want. I do the sides. I make the sides flat. So if I'm on the sander, I grind it that way. You getting this? You getting this? You grind this one. Flip it 180. Ground that one. And then you go 90 to that, and you grind that curve out like that. And you're done. Doesn't take much. Here. See that one? Huh? I've tried a lot of things that Michael's done, and, you have to ask Bonnie about Michael. Anybody ever seen Michael's fish? He takes it, turns it, hollows it, takes it on the bandsaw, cuts the middle out of it, glues the 2 halves back together so he gets a flattened form. So all of his fish have little needle teeth on them. They look like piranha. Bonnie took his class And I always have to say, Bonnie has to put the Bonnie on everybody else's work. You know, it's like Tina Turner. You know, when she copies you, when she takes your song and does it herself, she does it 10 times better than you ever thought about doing it. Bonnie's kind of like that too with her turning. So she brings her fish back after a week at Aramont, and it's got these great big lips on it. And I said, Bonnie, who is your lip model? Angelina. So Michael does little needle teeth, and his look real fierce, and Bonnie's they're all puckered up. They're great. So, like I said, so that's what you do with the apple or the acorn, is you take it, play with it some, put the Bonnie on it, and enjoy. Woo! Don't forget to sand at the appropriate times.